Today we're going to the dark side and building a deck around what is probably the most hated card from the last decade of Magic. Will our opponents even play with us, or are they just gonna salty rope? Let's find out. Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another edition of Much Abrew About Nothing. And this week, we are going full on Dark Side mode in Timeless. We're playing a deck built around what is probably the most hated card in the last decade of Magic, and we're backing it up by a bunch of other super hated cards. We're playing Bant, Nexus of Fate, Field of the Dead. So let's talk about this super miserable deck, what it's trying to do, jump into some games, and see how many opponents we can get to Rage Scoop. So we start with Field of the Dead, and this is actually why I built the deck. I've heard some people saying, oh, Field of the Dead, not good enough for Timeless, it's too fair, it's too slow, and I think that's gotta be ridiculous, because Field of the Dead is an absurd Magic card. It's a land makes colorless ETB taps. Most importantly, when it enters a battlefield, or another land enters a battlefield, if we have 7 lands with different names, we get a 2/2 black zombie creature token for free. And the way you break Field of the Dead, it's really easy. You just play a bunch of singleton lands, and now it's even better because we have fetch lands on Arena, and fetch lands are ridiculous with Field of the Dead. Not only do the fetch lands let us get away with playing this pretty much all singleton mana base and still have our colors, but they also double trigger Field of the Dead in the late game. So step 1 of this deck is do a bunch of ramping to get up to 7 lands to turn on our Field of the Dead. For this, we have Growth Spiral Explorer, Uro Titan of Nature's Wrath, another historically broken band in Standard, in Pioneer, in Modern card. It's like a Growth Spiral, except it gains us life, and it also eventually turns into a 6/6, and it triggers when it attacks, as long as when it enters the battlefield. It is a ridiculous card that no one's really playing in Timeless. It's like on the fringes, and Uro is so ridiculously strong. So that's the Field of the Dead plan. The only problem with Field of the Dead is it does only make 2/2, so it can take a few turns to actually kill our opponent with the Grizzly Bear zombies, but we got a plan for this. We just take all the turns with Nexus of Fate, probably the most hated card that Wizards has printed, at least in the last 5 years. So you probably remember Nexus of Fate. It's the 7 mana instant speed extra turn spell that also for some reason shuffles itself back into your library when it resolves, so you can just keep drawing it and casting it again and again and again. Wilderness Reclamation, along with all of our ramp, lets us get to Nexus of Fate really quickly. The trick is we can have a Wilderness Reclamation with 4 lands. We go to our end step, we float all every mana, Wilderness Reclamation untaps all of our lands, then we use the rest of our mana to Nexus of Fate, then hopefully we do it again during the next turn. So the goal is make some zombies, take all the turns with Nexus of Fate, beat you down eventually, or though more realistically, our opponents are probably just going to get mad and scoop. We also have Search for Azcanta, which is ridiculous with the Nexus Wilderness Reclamation plan. Search for Azcanta, once we flip it, which we can do really quickly with fetch lands and cantrips and so forth, we can pay 3, tap it, look at our top 4 cards, grab a non-creature, non-land card from among them. So the trick here is Wilderness Reclamation is going to keep on tapping our Azcanta every turn, so we can usually use it multiple times, and this takes us 4 cards deep in our deck to find a Nexus of Fate to take an extra turn and activate Azcanta a few more times. So it makes it very easy to make Nexus of Fate not deterministically infinite, because there is a chance that we just go 12 cards deep in our deck and don't find one, but really functionally infinite-ish, where we should be able to take 5, 10, 20, all the turns in a row until we actually win the game. As far as the rest of the deck, Brainstorm holds everything together, helping us find our pieces. Swords of Pleasure, Supreme Verdict, Oko is removal, another ridiculously busted card. 1 Teferi's Protection is a gotcha. In the sideboard, a bunch of removal for creature decks, some counters, a Teferi, Hero of Dominaria for control, Soul Guide Lander for graveyard decks, and that is Bant Nexus Field for Timeless. That is our super miserable deck for today. So let's jump into some games and see how many Nexus of Fates it takes until we start getting some salty ropes. How many zombies can we make just by playing lands? That's all we gotta do. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this super fun gameplay experience, and I'll be back in a bit for the wrap up. Need some Magic cards? Well, you can snag them from our sponsor, Card Kingdom, over at cardkingdom.com/mtggoldfish. We've got new tokens and playmats, and you can even get the tokens signed if you want. Check them all out over at mtggoldfishmerch.com. Bant Field of the Dead Nexus in Timeless, and that sounds fine. Got a little ramp, got to search for Azcanta. Oh, and a Wilderness Wreck. Well, Windswept Heath, go. So we should be able to... Well, let's see. Crack this, get a tap land. Probably Scattered Groves. Sand's actually kind of nuts now. Hollowed Fountain, go. I think we just Grow Spiral. Grow Spiral, ooh, Splunking, okay. Well, Grow Spiral. Put the farmland into play. I mean, we're gonna be able to get down our Wilderness Wreck here. Opponent has Field of the Dead, all right. So opponent's also a Field of the Dead deck. Well, Windswept Heath, crack Windswept Heath. We do need an island. We need a breeding pool untapped. Wilderness Reclamation. And next turn we get to start Nexusing already. 1, 2. We can put back the Growth Spiral. Golos. All right. I mean, Golos is good, but we also can kill it. See what they get here. Are they going for another field? Cavern of Souls. All right. Well, we will. Let's think about this. 1, 2. So we can play Mystic Sanctuary. Put Growth Spiral on the top of our deck. Let's stop on our end step. Search for Azcanta. Tap our lands. Untap our lands. Nexus. Okay. Extra turn number 1. Untap. Mill to Fairies Pro. What happened to our Growth Spiral? Spara's Headquarters. All right, let's cycle that. Field of the Dead. Yeah, we'll pass the turn. I mean, next turn we should get to flip this Kanta. So if they play a Primeval Titan, that's bad for us, but we do have a Swords. And then we can mill flip his Kanta. We're not really to the point of going fully infinite yet, but we're not that far away. Opponent going to Golos again. Well, we will Swords the Golos. All right, well, hopefully this is Kanta carries. Hopefully this is Kanta. We'll see. It's Kanta Wilderness Wreck is kind of a combo. So we're hoping to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A land that is not Field of the Dead would be good to turn on the Field of the Deads. And then hopefully we hit a Nexus. Opponent gets a Blast Zone. I mean, that will be an issue eventually. Opponent plays another Splunking. I'm gonna get in for 0. All right, so we will. Do we mill the Nexus? Oh, I guess it doesn't matter because it shuffles in anyway. Okay, we'll keep it. Stop on our end step. Field of the Dead number 2. Tap our lands. Untap our lands. Take an extra turn. Untap. Well, I guess we're doing that again. Nexus. Okay, we kind of don't actually want a Nexus on the top of our deck. Supreme Verdict. All right, so we get to mill. We get to flip. We draw an Oko. So 1, 2, 3. Azcanta finds Nexus. That's what we wanted to see. That's what we wanted to see. So now we can play Oko. Make a food. Wow! It passed our turn! You can see it! You can see the stop! You can see the stop! Oh no, Arena! What did I do wrong? I don't even know what I did wrong there. Okay, so apparently setting a stop on your end step does not guarantee that the game will work properly. Opponent, Mount Doom, Hammer Battlements. Yeah, Arena is kinda Arena-y. Gonna attack the Oko, gonna attack us. Well, let's Kanta. We hit a Growth Spiral. Well, let's Growth Spiral. Okay, Brainstorm. Let's Brainstorm. Basically just looking for swords. All right, no swords. Put you back. Put you back. Draw Uro first. All right, we're gonna lose our Oko because of Arena. Is there like do I need to set on like ultra full control or something? Opponent, Field of the Dead. Gonna make some zombies. Kills the Oko, hits us to 12. Okay, gonna grab a couple forests. Play a forest, make some zombies. Passes. Okay, so 2, 3. Activate Azcanta. Go digging for a Nexus. Okay, we hit a Brainstorm. Supreme Verdict. All right, so we are going to pass in full control since I don't trust Arena. Untap our lands. Nexus. And Brainstorm. Ah, there's a Nexus. All right, so put back. Draw the Field of the Dead. Untap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So play Field of the Dead. Make some zombies. Iskanta. Grab and explore. Abrew. So hitting a land here would be the best, actually. Well, another Nexus is actually pretty awesome, too. That's fine, that's fine. So go to our end step. Nexus. I mean, we should be good. We should be able to just win from here. Like, that is the power of Nexus. That is the power of Nexus. Take an extra turn. Draw an island. Play the island, make some zombies. Iskanta. I mean, this is why Nexus is so busted. Our poor opponent. You just have to sit there. If you ever want to play all the magic and your opponent play none of the magic, this is the deck. Search for Iskanta. Can we find another Nexus? Another Nexus, I think, is the hard lock. Like, I think that fully closes it out. And we get a bunch of looks at it. Because we also get to get back this Abrew. We have at least one extra turn. I'm pretty sure we just win. Wow. We could have done it a turn earlier, probably. Wilderness Wreck. Get back Abrew. Doesn't really matter what we exile. Go back into full control. Abrew, draw a card. It's an Explorer. Sure. Well, we will go to our end step. Actually, first, hit you for 6. I mean, this should be the end, right? Go to our end step. Tap our lands. Untap our lands. Because now we can Nexus and Iskanta. So cast a Nexus. This might be all. Does our opponent scoop it up? We don't technically have lethal on board. So I guess it's still possible we fizzle. It's not likely, but search for Iskanta. Nexus? Nexus for the seal? I mean, we get to go so many cards deep here. We should find a Nexus because we have 2 more. All right, we hit a Swords. We draw a Brainstorm. Well, all right, step 1. An opponent scoops it up. Well, opponent did a lot of ramping, but we took a lot of extra turns. Unfortunately, we don't really have a super serious answer to what our opponent's doing. We don't really have land destruction or anything. Counters seem kind of sketch because we see Cavern. I guess we can counter like a Splunking. Maybe we bring in the Teferi. Maybe we bring in the Teferi, go down a Teferi's Protection for the flavor win and run it like that. Well, I mean, that went pretty good. Well, Wilderness Wreck Nexus. There's a reason that this has been banned. Oh, not only is it good, it is so brutal to play against. I don't know if this can be a teaching Arena Zoomers because Nexus was on Arena before, so I don't think it counts as teaching Arena Zoomers, but it is certainly handing out some harsh life lessons. Opponent. Kami. Field of the Dead. Well, let's Flooded Strand go. Probably just grab our Triumph Abrew Grazer. Wow, opponent is all about that ramp. All right, now Doom. I mean, if they just go ramp into Primeval Titan, that would actually be kind of scary. Well, let's crack this, grab our Triumph. Opponent gets in for 1. We draw Wilderness Wreck, which is nice. Well, let's just play a Ganjo. Explore. Put a Windswept Teeth into play. Oh, we really need one more land. Opponent. Boseiju and Golos. Oh, God. Whew. Okay, this is actually kind of scary. Oh, if we don't draw a land, our opponent can spin Golos next turn. That is not great. Wow, what a ramp start. Ramp. Gets and hits us. Well, come on, deck. Show us a untapped land. Oh, Scattered Groves. Oh, they don't actually have the colors to spin Golos, do they? That's a little bit of good news. Well, crack Windswept Teeth. Forest. Abrew. Put a Scattered Groves into play. Pass the turn. So, I mean, I guess we're kind of hoping. All right. I mean, I was going to say, we're kind of hoping our opponent plays Primeval Titan. They get their lands. I mean, this isn't great for us. Like, our opponent has had an incredibly fast ramp start, but They are mostly empty-handed. They are literally empty-handed. And we have Supreme Verdict. So we do get to just wrath away their board, and they have one card in hand. So we might be fine, even after all this. Like, the Field of the Dead is going to keep adding up, but we dropped to 15. We do draw a land, so we get to Supreme Verdict. Blow them all up. Temple Garden tapped. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, so if we draw a land, we get to start Nexusing? Abrew. How does our opponent play their stuff, though? Another Field of the Dead. I mean, the zombies are going to be a problem. The One Ring. Okay. Okay. Well, let's see what happens. Opponent passes. We draw an Oko. I mean, I think we play Wilderness Wreck. I think we have to. So we play Wilderness Wreck. End step. Float a blue. Untap. Grow Spiral. Ugh. Alright. Oh, this is so clunky. This is so clunky. Well, we'll see. Opponent gets to draw 2 with the One Ring. Back up to 4 cards in hand. Land on Giant. Wow, another Primeval Titan. Okay. I don't know if this is possible, but I think we need to literally win the game this turn, and that is going to be tough. Alright, here comes the zombies. And an Abrew Grazer. Well, we'll see. We need to hit some lands. So opponent makes a bunch of zombies, gets and hits us. We draw planes. We only have 1 blue source. So we play Uro, but if we don't draw a blue source, we just straight up lose. Do we just have to do that, though? The other option is take an extra turn that doesn't do anything. If we hit a blue source, we're good. I think we have to play Uro. I don't think we win by just taking an extra turn here. Come on, Uro. Show us a blue source. Grow Spiral. All right. Dead. Yeah. Well, that is a smidge unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, I think we just run it back. Opponent had their really fast start, and we somehow super fizzled by hitting our land drops there. I think if we had hit that blue source, we probably still win. Well, all right. I mean, we're going to keep this. I don't know if this counts as a dream, but we do have the Oko. We have double Uro. Nothing to do on 2, though, which is awkward. Well, tap land go. At least we're going to have the right colors of mana this game. Opponent, untap land, and a little bit alchemy. Well, we will play the land and pass the turn. Opponent, Buried Ruin. Splunking to draw a card. So opponent's trying to turbo out a One Ring by the looks. Handweir Battlements. Well, crack this. Grab a tap land. Really would like to draw land here. Opponent gets in for 1. Wilderness Wreck. Well, all right, Flooded Strat. Crack it. Island. Uro. Can we please hit a land? Okay, not the best land, but we do hit a land. So there's Beseju. So at least we did hit a land. Well, let's see what our opponent's got with their splunking. The One Ring. Opponent draws with the One Ring. And Sunken Citadel. Well, I mean, unfortunately, I think we just have to play Oko. Elk the One Ring. Pass the turn. Opponent. No, they're splunking. Our opponent's missing lands, which is kind of good for us. All right. Castle Garenbrig. Oh, maybe they're not missing lands. Radiant Fountain. Opponent hits the Oko. Well, I think we swords the One Ring.
You're blind to your folly.
Draw Grow Spiral, which is still not a land. Well, okay. So we make a food. Play Wilderness Wreck. Untap. Pass the turn. Come on, deck. Where are our lands? Opponent, Field of the Dead. The scary part is they have haste with this Handweir Battlements. Opponent hits the Oko. Sure.
You are fouler than a
Well, let's Grow Spiral. See if we can hit a land. Yes. Put a Ganjo into play. Untap. Wait, can we do everything? So if we play Teferi, I think we can. So, all right. Let's see if we can do this properly. So we're going to take up, make our food into a creature. We're going to go full control and put an end step stop. So we play Teferi. We draw with Teferi. go to our end step. Let's make sure auto order triggered abilities is not on. Okay, we go to our end step. I guess we get to attack here. Get in, hit ya. So on our end step, if we do this properly, we should be able to take an extra turn. Wilderness Wreck resolves. Untaps all of our lands. In between, we will float mana. Teferi resolves. Untaps 2 more lands. Oh, exactly enough for a Nexus. And now we're off to the races. That's what we want. An opponent knows what's happening and scoops it up. And that is the power of Nexus. That is the power of... We did this with what, 5 lands? We were like struggling to hit our land drops this game too. We were fighting and clawing and struggling. The combo of untapping your lands in Nexus is so brutal. So at this point, we're not fully infinite, but we're in a really good place. We're drawing to a turn because of Teferi. We have Oko. We have multiple draws with our Abrews, including one that we're very close to getting back from the graveyard. So I think, even though we're not infinite, we're in a pretty good spot there. Our opponent had a little bit of the ramp deck issue where really explosive when things go well, but then this game they went ramp, nothing, and just couldn't really get any pressure. So, well, that's how you take all the turns. Yeah, sounds fine. Playing some Nexus of Fate Field of the Dead shenanigans. Let's just lead on Irrigated Farmland. Opponent. Ooh, the bad brainstorm. This is almost exactly how you do not want to brainstorm. I don't know. We don't know our opponent's hand. Maybe there's a reason to cast it that way, but in general, that is not how you want to brainstorm. Opponent, Dragon Rage Channeler, and a Mishra's Bauble. I guess this helps a little bit that our opponent had a follow-up to get something off the top of their deck. Opponent's going to crack, take a peek. Draw with Bauble. We draw a Plains. Yeah, I think we just Windswept Heath pass. What we can do is brainstorm, shuffle away a couple extra lands, crack the Windswept Heath to get the Plains. All right, I mean, that's a lot of DRCs. And a Delver of Secrets. Well, okay, let's brainstorm. Put back the Plains, put back... Crack the Windswept Heath to get the Plains. And Swords of Dragon Rage Channeler. Ooh, 3 cards in the graveyard. Play Search for Azcanta. Play the tap land. Take our beats. Hopefully the Delver does not flip. Okay, no flip. That's good. Restless Mindstalk, and we take 2. What is our opponent's hand? Burn spells? Counter spells? Why are they Teamer? Oko? Well, search for Azcanta. Mill a search for Azcanta. We draw a breeding pool, so let's play Flooded Strand, explore. Breeding pool, untapped. Crack the Flooded Strand, get an island. I think we just run out the Uro. Grab an island. Countering Uro, when it's not escape, doesn't really do much. Put Castle Vantress into play. And pass the turn. So we're at 17. We get to flip the Azcanta. Alright, opponent bolts our face and surveils. They're trying to set up the Delver flip. Wow, they didn't leave it on top. Interesting. They could have guaranteed the flip by leaving Stern Scolding on top. Instead, they milled it. And did not flip. I mean, Stern Scolding's not going to do anything, but you do flip your Delver. Well, let's see what our opponent's got. Mishra's Bauble. Mills a land. I mean, opponent's down to, well, 2 cards in hand, I guess, technically. Cracks the Bauble. Goes to combat. Hits us for 2. Well, they get to draw a card. We get to flip Azcanta. Yeah, I think we mill the Nexus for now. Actually, do we? This is actually very tough. Yeah, mill the Nexus. Flip Azcanta. Draw Wilderness Wreck, my god. My god. Okay, in that case, we will play a Twara. We will 1, 2, 3, 4. Play Wilderness Wreck. Do you have a counter? And then we will activate Azcanta. Whiff, which is awkward. We are going to attempt to take an extra turn here. So we get to untap Nexus. Resolves. Okay, that's huge. That is huge. That is huge. So we get our extra turn. Let's see. Green, green, blue, blue, Uro. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, this is big. This is big. Here comes Uro. Draw a card. Gain some life. Put a Flooded Strand into play. Activate his Kanta. Get an Oko. Let's crack this. Spara's headquarters. Play a Growth Spiral. We could still hit a extra turn spell here. Or a Field of the Dead. Okay, no sense in doing that now. Alright, so play the Field of the Dead. Make a zombie, pass the turn. About it. Do they flip the Delver? I mean, opponent really needs to most likely kill us, and opponent scoops it up. And that's a really big performance, because that is us taking down aggro, which in theory should be a tricky matchup for our deck. But in practice, if we can actually take down aggro with counter spells, that is a really good sign. Really, really good sign for our deck. So we're going to bring in, let's see, Divine Purge for sure. What else can we cut? That's a tough part about sideboarding with this deck is there's not a lot to cut, really. Maybe we can like go down to 3 rows? Fragment Reality would also be good. Sniping 1-drops is like its best use. Maybe we go down an Oko? I don't think we're going to counter. Let's go down and explore. Let's bring in the Fragment Realities. I mean, one of the nice things about Nexus is it's kind of uncounterable. I mean, it's counterable, but it's going to shuffle back in anyway, so there's still inevitability. All lands in an Oko. We do have a Field of the Dead. I think we have to ship this though. All right, this is better. This is much better. We will put a Growth Spiral to the bottom. This is pretty good. So we get to sword something. We have the Iskanta to start filtering and eventually flipping. Iskanta is actually really essential to this deck. The ability to activate it multiple times with Wilderness Rack is one of the most powerful things. Wow, opponent's at 4. All right, well, this might be, well, do you have Ragamon? No, Delver. Yeah, let's just play Spar Headquarters, that's fine. Worst case, the Delver flips and they get in for 3, and we can accept that. All right, Delver does not flip. Dragon Rage Chanela. Opponent gets and hits us. There's a Nexus. Yeah, we're gonna play it safe. Let's just Swords of DRC. I mean, opponent's on 4 cards. I don't think there's any reason to take any unnecessary risk of letting our opponent dig out of this. Opponent does not flip the Delver. That might be good for them, though. It's a land. It's a Triome. Well, Windswept Heath. Crack Windswept Heath. Grab a Forest Uro. Put a Flooded Strand into play. And pass the turn. So we're back up to 20, which is nice. Wow, this Delver doing Delvery things, by which I mean never flipping. Opponent, Oko. I mean, Oko, that is a real threat. Oko's one of the strongest cards in this format. Opponent gets and hits us. All right, we untap. We draw an Oko. They drew theirs first, though. Well, Castle Vantress, I think we have to play Search for his Kanta. Crack the Flooded Strand. Get a Plains. Play Oko. Make a food. Does the Delver flip? That would actually be bad because they could kill our Oko. Opponent says nice. Wow. Oops. Stop me. Our opponents teaching themselves about Delver of Secrets.
Oh dear.
Are you going face or Oko? Opponent going Oko. Last card. We will never know. Explore. Definitely going to the graveyard. Well, we will turn on our food. Growth Spiral. Field of the Dead into play. Hallowed Fountain tapped. All right, pass the turn. I mean, we get to flip the Iskanta. Can our opponent flip a Delver to kill our Oko? Sooner or later, it's got to happen, right? Our opponent flips with an expressive iteration. That's a hit for our opponent. That's big. That's really big for our opponent. Opponent makes a food. I mean, the Field of the Deads will beat the Oko eventually. We can actually take an extra turn next turn. Once this Iskanta flips, then we're good to get the Uro back. There is some value to taking an extra turn here. An extra turn, we're 1 land away from double Field of the Deading. Opponent finds a Bobble. They could have counters. That is theoretically possible. Opponent, bobble. Gonna take a peek. We're like a wilderness wreck away from really going off. And attack our face. I mean, we will trade. Keep our life total high. Opponent. All right, gets to draw a card. We get to his Kanta. I mean, I guess that's worth keeping. We get to transform anyway. Yeah, let's just pass and see what our opponent does. Remember, Nexus is so busted, it is also an instant. It is also an instant, so we can Nexus at instant speed. So if our opponent, like, plays a bunch of stuff and taps out, we can Nexus. We can also activate our Kanta to go digging. Opponent, yeah. We will take 6. I mean, we're gonna fire up a Nexus. Wow, okay, so now we get 2 turns in a row, which is very nice, very, very nice. Supreme Verdict. They're gonna besiege you a Field of the Dead. I don't even know if this is good for our opponent. Blue, blue, blue. I think we take Scattered Groves. Scattered Groves make a zombie, blow up the board. Is Kanta? Take a Swords. Extra turn. Get back Uro. Draw a card, gain some life. And this is where the deck becomes pretty unbeatable feeling. Put a fetch land into play, make a zombie. Put an island into play, make a zombie. Pass the turn, back up to 15. 6/6 on the battlefield of the... Wow, they don't even elk it. I was gonna say, oh, they can elk it, but our opponent did not elk it. Jaracel, okay. Well, that's good enough to swords. And opponent. Done, done, done. Well, game 2, our opponent did a lot of mulligan egg. So that worked in our favor. Game 1, though, like, we took on this aggro tempo deck, which is one of the most popular archetypes in the format, and kind of just smacked them. I don't know about this Field of the Dead too fair, too slow argument. I think if you build a deck to support it and throw in Nexus of Fate, which is just a ridiculous card, I feel the Dead's really good. I'm excited to see this deck working because I play against so much Luris, so much like is it aggro. I want to see one of these slower, grindier decks actually be good, and so far so good for Field. Yeah, all right, that's Wilderness Reclamation Nexus of Fate. We are playing probably the most obnoxious deck in the history of Magic Arena, at least. I was gonna say Magic, it's probably not the most obnoxious in the history of Magic, but in the history of Magic Arena, pretty good chance that Nexus, let's say the last 5 years, 10 years, oh my god, I hate Nexus. I do kind of like winning with Nexus though, but playing against it is the worst. Oh my goodness, what a mistake card. But part of the fun of Timeless is you get to play with all the mistake cards, so we're doing it. We're embracing the hate. They took the swords. Interesting. Well, let's just play a Windswept Heath past the turn. I mean, in theory, don't we get to Oko into Wilderness Wreck into extra turns? That seems good. All right, Orcish Bowmasters. Sweetly tapped land. Ooh, Supreme Verdict is nice. Well, Windswept Heath, crack Windswept Heath. Grab a Forest. Play Broco. And tick up for a food. Well, we would like our opponent to just play another creature, too. That would be sweet. If they run out creatures and we just get to wrath them, oh, we're in such good shape. Wow, opponent does nothing. Well, we will, in that case, play Wilderness Wreck. All right, more Bowmasters. Yeah. Just keep sniping. So if we take up, we go to 5. They still can't kill it. All right, let's do that. Make a food. Untap our lands. The bad news for you, opponent, is we're about to start taking lots of turns. Discard Uro. That comes back from the graveyard anyway. They discard Sheoldred. Well, let's see. We untap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we play this, we can't also Nexus. So I think what we do is, yeah, turn this into an elf. Go to combat, hit the Liliana. And then we will Hallowed Fountain tapped. End of turn. Tap all of our lands. Untap all of our lands. Take an extra turn. Oh, I think we're in pretty good shape here. This deck might actually just be busted. So we can go to combat. Wrath. Make a food.
It's not poison.
We'll play a tap land. Pass the turn. We're gonna take all the turns here shortly, so do something big. Do something big if you can. Okay, Fable. That's a really good card. It's a very strong magic card. Opponent, take Numa. Well, let's do a little scry. See if we can find some more turns, maybe. Bottom and bottom. Island. Well, in that case, let's get back Uro. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, what we really want is more turns or Field of the Dead would be good. Well, put a land into play tapped. Let's elk up a food. No attacks. I mean, this Castle Vantra is going to be pretty good here. So opponent gets to do some looting. So what does our opponent need? Shieldred, I guess, is probably their best bet to punish us for drawing cards, although we can just elk it. Oko's such a get out of jail free card. Yeah, I think you see our opponent hovering on the Oko. Like, even if they find something good, we just take and elk it anyway. Okay, this deck, like, it is fun to win with. It is fun to win with. Also very brutal to play against. But I can't help it. I like making opponents miserable. That's the best part of Magic. Let's bring this to Fairy. So we got Oko, Supreme Verdict, Swords to deal with Shieldred. Do we want another Wrath? What would we cut? I guess we can like go down one Explore. Yeah, let's go 3 Wraths. Run it like that. All right, Rakdos. Can you stop us from taking all the turns? I wonder if we should have Veil somewhere on the sideboard. That's another pretty busted and pretty annoying card. Yeah, we'll keep this. We got our Field of the Dead. Field of the Dead by itself is so good. Opponent going to Thoughtseize. Take this Kanta. That makes sense. Opponent, Sulphur Springs. Yeah, I mean, you know what? We'll just play it slow. We'll play it slow. We win the long game. We could take 2 and explore, and then they flash in Bowmasters. We take 2 more. They have 3 power. We're down to like 10. That seems unnecessarily risky.
I'm tired of your seat.
This Lily could be an issue. Lily ultimating would be very bad for us. Well, let's explore. Field of the Dead, Field of the Dead. Pass the turn. Opponent going to duress us. How do we avoid losing to Liliana? Opponent's gonna take up. We'll discard a Wrath.
I'll have rather forget.
Torch the tower. Well, I mean, Growth Spiral. There's the Bowmasters. Ugh. Yeah, we might actually be in trouble this game because of this Liliana ultimating. Opponent takes up Lily. Yeah, I don't know if we can rebuild from here. They just stuck the quick Lily and they're gonna ultimate it. We draw in Uro. Well, we'll play the Wilderness Wreck. Pass the turn. They should probably just keep ticking it up, honestly. Yeah, I mean, this is a way our opponent can beat us. This is the way. Finds another Bowmasters. Takes up Lily. Yeah. Ouch. Brainstorm, double boat. Yeah, you got it. You got it. Wow. Okay. Liliana the Veil. The boomer power comes through. Yeah, I guess we don't have that many straight up Planeswalker answers, do we? Which is kind of obnoxious. Planeswalkers are not a thing you see that I mean, you see Oko, but like Liliana, Oko we can just let live. Like Oko, whatever. We don't really care about it. Liliana, though, is an issue. I mean, we're going to be on the play, right? Yeah, we're going to keep it exactly the same. We're going to just chalk that up to our opponent having the right hand, us not having the right hand. I don't think we can really do much about that. Like, what else are we going to do to stop the Lily? We can bring in counters, but then they just get Thoughtseized anyway. I think we just want to do our thing better. Well, I mean, we're going to keep this. We might get wrecked by discard, but Uro's good at least. About it. Going to duress our Wilderness Reclamation. Well, we will crack this. Grab a Sparus Headquarters. Nexus of Fate. Our key card, but it is a ways away from actually doing its thing. Opponent. Kroxa. Well, we will discard the Nexus for now. It's going to shuffle back in anyway. Scattered Grove. They wouldn't be playing Blood Moon, right? There's no way. Breeding Pool, untapped. Uro. Draw a card. Gain some life. Put Hallowed Fountain into play. Untapped. Opponent. I mean, we can actually just get Uro back next turn, which is sweet. Do we Brainstorm is the question. Brainstorm's so soft too. I think we gotta pass. Grow Spiral, that's a little bit better. So no Uro yet. Let's play Windswept Teeth. Pass the turn. If our opponent taps out for something, like Liliana, now we can do things. Growth Spiral. Put the farmland into play. Brainstorm. So we can discard the Supreme Verdict. Get rid of a Ganjo. I think this makes sense. So we want to draw the Explorer. This Hall of the Storm Giants is nice. We would still like to find a field, but so opponent takes up. We discard Supreme Verdict. Opponent discards Fatal Push. Passes. Crack the Windswept Teeth. Get a Forest. Get back Uro. Draw a card. Gain some Field of the Dead. Field of the Dead. Nexus. Put Hall of the Storm Giants into play. Explore. I think we hold it. I think we hold it for this turn. In case they take up the Liliana, I think we hold on to the Castle of Antris. Opponent. Towards the tower. Molten Collapse. And going to tick up. So they're going to try to get back the Kroxa as their game plan. We'll discard the Castle of Antris. They discard a land. Swords is nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so fire up the Hall of the Storm Giant. Opponent. So they're going to get back Kroxa, but we have the sword. So we're going to discard the Nexus. We can swords the Kroxa. And then we're like a draw away. Opponent, land. Yeah, let's just pass. So they're going to fire up Hive of the Eye Tyrant. We are going to Swords Kroxa. So I think what we'd like to do is cast this Nexus at the end of our opponent's turn. All right, just a land. That's fine. We draw Brainstorm. Well, we're going to pass. We're going to pass. We're going to Nexus on the end of our opponent's turn, get 2 turns in a row, and hopefully go from there to winning the game. Opponent, Hive of the Eye Tyrant, hits us to 13. So we've stabilized this game. We're not getting janked out by Lily, which means we should win, right? Like, our deck is probably the best late game deck. Opponent hits us at 13. Land, Nexus. We will take 2 turns in a row. There's a Field of the Dead. So let's start with the Brainstorm. Put back 2 fetch lands. Play Field of the Dead. Uro. Draw a fetch land. Put it into play. Crack the fetch land. Get a island. Uro. An opponent who cannot beat the Nexus power. Taking multiple turns in a row is kind of powerful. And you don't even really need finishers because Field of the Dead. All we got to do is play a land and make all the zombies. But I think the deck is actually pretty good. We are playing some Nexus of Fate. Just some innocent take all the turn. Oh my god, this hand. Well, we're going to keep this. We'll see if it's fast enough. Jingatha can mean very aggro. But, I mean, this hand is kind of everything we want. Deathrite Shaman. Well, Scattered Groves, go. I mean, we have Wilderness Wreck into Nexus of Fate. We will see if it's fast enough. This Deathrite does snipe our Uro, which is a little sad. Hopefully it's just an Oko. All right. I mean, Oko's very good. Not to diminish Oko, but Oko's also not the most busted against our deck. Like, it's basically just mostly a 3-3 every other turn. So I think there's a reasonable chance we can beat an Oko opponent. Alex it up. The real question is going to be counters. Okay. The real question is going to be how many counters may they have. I'm going to put a land into play. Breeding Pool untapped. And another Deathrite Shaman. All right. And a Mishra's Bauble. Well, I mean, that's a I think our opponent should not have cracked that and turned it into a 3-3. I think that would have actually been better. Opponent hits us. Well, they get to draw. We get to Iskanta. Do we want a Breeding Pool? We're going to need a Wrath, right? I think we're gonna need a Wrath. Milling the land though just turns it on for the Death Rights. I think we keep it. I think we keep it for now, and we play an island, we play our own Uro. We put Field of the Dead into play. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we don't get an extra turn next turn, right? Opponent makes a food. Brainstorm. I mean, they definitely still could have counters. That is a realistic possibility. Yeah, so if we play Wilderness Wreck next turn, we have 6 extra mana. I feel like if we can find a Supreme Verdict. Jeez, Demonic Tutor. Okay. Well, this can't be good. Whenever your opponent draws a restricted card, that's a bad sign. So opponent gets literally the best card in their entire deck. Are we finally gonna lose? So far we're undefeated. So far we're undefeated by taking all the turns. I'm not feeling as confident in this one though, with our opponent resolving a Demonic Tutor. I could see them tutoring a Thoughtseize. That does not seem unrealistic. I think they actually tutored a Thoughtseize. So I'm gonna take the Wilderness Wreck and just hope we don't get there, which it's a pretty fair hope. Now we might be too slow. We really needed that mana doubling. Yep. Well, let's see what we find. Search for Azcanta. I mean, I think we keep the Explore. So we get to play the Explore, draw a card. Play Breeding Pool, tapped. Windswept Heath. I mean, we're back to being 1 land away. Wow, they're gonna drain us. We're back to being 1 land away from just hardcasting the Nexuses. Flipping this search is gonna be tricky with double Death right out. But I mean, 1 more land, we get Nexuses and we have a Field of the Dead, so we get to start making bodies. This does have to happen quickly though. And there still is a chance that they're holding a counter. I'm pretty confident they tutored up the Thoughtseize, but they could still have counters. So opponent's gonna hit us. Do we have to get a Plains and Swords? It would be nice if we could hold the fetch, but we're taking so much damage here. So let's Swords one of the Elk. We need to hit a land. Fetch land would be the best. They can't get Uro back yet. They're one short, right? Plays a Swamp. They only have 1 card in hand. It could still be a counter. Well, if we hit an untapped land here, especially a fetch land, we got a shot. Because we have double Nexus in hand and Field will be on. I don't know why they keep looking at our search for Azcanta. I guess they could have Beseiju. If they Beseiju, that's kind of okay. At least that turns on the Field of the Dead. We start making bodies. The Field of the Dead stops the Oko. We also have to keep in mind these Death Rights will eventually just drain us. Like, actually pretty quickly. Like, the Death Rights can hit for 4, so we're actually kind of dead in 2 turns. About it. Manually tapping. You can't get your... This doesn't come back. You need 5 cards. You only have 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. You can't exile Uro to itself. That doesn't work that way. All right, they take Jingatha. Well, we get Surveil. We need an untap land. Oko does not do it. Uh-oh. Are we dead? Swords. Well, we will Swords the food token. In response, our opponent needs to exile the Uro, or we get to Uro. Okay, or this also works. They exile the Swords. Well, we will pass the turn. Oh, are we gonna end up one land short of stabilizing? Maybe. Opponent exiles. Untaps. So the problem we have here is we're not gonna be able to crack a... yeah, that works. Elk up the Death Right. Oh, 1 land short. Well, that is a way we can lose. There is a way we can lose, which is just not hit our lands in time, unfortunately. I don't think we got to do much. I think we should be able to just beat this deck. Could bring in the Soul Guide Lantern, I guess. Maybe go down like 1 Explorer for a Soul Guide. Oh, we just need 1 more land. That double Death Ray draw was pretty brutal. The double Death Ray draw just let our opponent tax our graveyard. Like, listen to the Commander Clash podcast when Richard and Krim are like, oh, yeah, it's not even good graveyard. Look at that game. That is like the testament to how strong Death Rate is. Like, that was just 2 Death Rights, won the game. Like, I guess the Oko helped that our opponent made a couple 3/3s, but really, that was just, they taxed our graveyard. We couldn't Uro. We couldn't flip our Azcanta. And then then they drained us for a bunch, which was actually like what gave them lethal. So I don't know about this. Death rate's not actually that good. Like, it's argument drives me insane. It's like it's obviously so strong, but anyway, I mean, I guess it's good that we lose once in a while. It would probably be bad for Timeless if taking all the turns with Nexus is the best deck in the format. So maybe we got to look on the bright side that maybe it's healthy if we lose once in a while. This hand's kind of horrible. We do have we got to mulligan this. If we had one more land, maybe. Can we keep this because of Brainstorm? It goes pretty wrong if we don't draw land or if we get Thought Seized. Yeah, we're just going to mulligan. All right, well, this will keep. No green mana is kind of awkward, but all right. I mean, we will lead on the Field of Dead. Opponent untaps. Once upon a time. Gonna be interesting to see how frustrating the restricted cards are. Whenever the conversation about restricted cards comes up, one of the big issues when people are like, why don't we restrict cards more often in like Modern or Pioneer or whatever, one of the things that comes up regularly is it's a feel bad. It's a feel bad that yeah, we're gonna play this because we might need to cycle it. We'll just snipe the land. One of the things that comes up, and I think is true, is it can be a feel bad if your opponent just keeps drawing their one of restricted card and you lose to it, because it's just like so swingy and high variance. Really would love to just draw a green source here. If we could be the one to slam Oko, that would be, wow, see? Twice in a row, they just top deck or just have their one of Demonic Tutor. So like you start doing the math in your head, like the odds of having the one of not high, the odds of having the one of in your hand 2 games in a row, even less high. What's the matter? Why does this keep happening to us? What did we do wrong? Wow, no fetches. That's super awkward. No fetches and no green mana. Oh God. This is kind of the worst. All right, well, we will put both of those back. Yeah, I think we're actually like kind of in trouble now. We are low rolling. Having 0 green mana is kind of wild. So this is good for us in the sense that it's going to shuffle our library. So our opponent hit their restricted Demonic Tutor to tutor up a sideboard Unmoored Ego, presumably to take our Nexus of Fates. Wow, they're going to take Wilderness. Interesting. I would have taken Nexus. Like, we can still just ramp into Nexus. It's not going to be as explosive, but just ramping into Nexus is something we can legitimately do. Plus, we already have the Field of the Dead on the battlefield. Do we crack this to draw a card already? I guess we can wait and see what we draw. Growth Spiral. Well, in that case, we are going to crack this to draw a card. Well, we hit a Brainstorm. Okay, we found green mana finally. So put back Nexus. Put back Island. Windswept Heath. Crack Windswept Heath. Get a Forest. Explore. Yeah, let's put Flooded Strand into play. Pass the turn. I mean, we still got Field of the Dead, which is big. Delighted Halfling, sure. And tap land. I think at this point we try to hold on to our fetch until we get the field going. Nexus. Play a Ganjo. Bowmasters. So we will grow Spiral in response. Put a Field of the Dead into play. Still a land short though. Still a land short. We can take an extra turn potentially. Opponent untaps. This Bowmasters does kind of tax our Uro. Okay. Yep. And gonna grow the army. Well, we'll take it. If we draw a land, we get two zombies. That would be so big. Are they Besieguing? Oh, this is actually kind of funny. Besiegu's a land. So we can grab an island. We can crack this. Mystic Sanctuary. Wait, one. Oh, that's not a, oh, that was a mistake. All right, Nexus of Fate. We might pay the price for that. Well, we get a fetch land. Oh, we had a plan. The plan didn't work, but we did have one. Spar as headquarters. I was counting this Hall of the Storm Giants as a zombie, which it definitely isn't. Green. Oh, we can't get it back? That's awkward. I think we still Uro. Trigger. Put a flooded strand into play. Get pinned. Make a zombie. Opponent takes it. Well, crack the flooded strand. We need a green source. We'll get a temple garden untapped. Make a zombie. Uro. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Get it back. Put scatter groves into play, make a zombie. I think we just pass. I think it's better to hold this to bounce rather than make a zombie. All right, so opponent is going to elk the Uro. It is kind of cute. You can elk a army to be able to make multiple armies with Orcish Bowmasters. That is kind of a cool synergy. Opponent's gonna play an Uro. And so they go up to 13. Opponent scoops it up. Whew, okay. Okay. That was a good one. That was a really good one. Opponent actually took one of our combo pieces too, and Field of the Dead. It's kind of wild to me that people think Field is not good in this format. Field is an absurd card. It's wild. It is wild how good that card is. So I have a bunch of mana dorks. Let's bring in another Verdict, actually. Being on the draw, the ability to catch back up, I think, is kind of relevant here. Maybe an Oko? Oko's good, though. I guess we can go no Explorers. Yeah, I guess that's fine. Normally we have 2 Explorers, but what can you do? Sideboarding happens. A couple Growth Spirals. Oko Wilderness Rack. Can our opponent not draw a Demonic Tutor for one game? So far, they are 100%. See, that's a nice little bobble trick. Bobble yourself, so you know if you want to crack a fetch or if you want to play a non-fetch. Not a huge amount of value, but it adds up. All those little bits of value over the course of a long game. They add up. Opponent, Breeding Pool, and Mana Dork. Ooh, that's a bad Brainstorm. Okay. So our opponent casts a Brainstorm main phase, which is often good, but I think you gotta wait for a fetch here. We'll see. Maybe they have some shenanigans that we don't know about, but I would say normally you want to be... Yeah, let's just Flooded Strand go. Normally you want to be able to fetch right away after you Brainstorm, because our opponent just drew all the cards that they put back, so it's not the most impactful Brainstorm. Well, let's crack the Flooded Strand. Grab the Triome. Oh, all right, here's the crack. I think they are gonna just crack cast a Bowmasters. So if they cast a Bowmasters, oh, they just get a tap land. Windswept Heath, crack Windswept Heath. You know what, I think we take Hallowed Fountain. Yeah, this hurts a bit, but take the Hallowed Fountain untapped. Grow Spiral. Put a Field of the Dead into play past the turn. Opponent tap land and passes. Let's play Beseiju and play a Search for Iskanta. So we can Grow Spiral. Yeah, there's the Bowmasters. In response, Grow Spiral. Put Scatter Groves into play. So we don't get to flip this Iskanta yet, but we get some selection. 2 lands away from turning on Field of the Dead, which is nice. See if our opponent just goes Oko, Elk the Army, the same trick they did last game. All right, opponent, fetch land, cracks it. Well, this is gonna be close. This is gonna be real close. Watery Grave tapped, Oko. All right, so opponent's doing the same thing. We could use a Wrath. A Wrath or a Swords would be nice, down to 10. Well, I mean, I think we gotta keep the Swords. Oh, how do we want to do it? 4 cards in the graveyard. Let's play Wilderness Wreck. Oh, I really don't want to Swords the Army, but we might have to. I think we Swords the Bowmasters. Untap. Let's see. Makes the food. Beseiju is the Field of the Dead. That was an interesting choice. Irrigated farmland. Windswept Heath gonna go graveyard. Flip Iskanta. Draw Nexus. Play a Uro. Gonna be close. Gonna be close. So Uro triggers. We draw a card. We gain some life. We will play a second Wilderness Wreck. So we're at 9. Oh, should we just get back? Oh, it's probably better just to get it back, isn't it? All right. Get back the Uro. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Draw a card, gain some life. Back up to 12. Wow, opponent's playing Besagius for days. All right. Breeding Pool. Tapped. Well, opponent's got 2 cards in hand. They got 2 cards in hand. Double Besagius is a surprise. I am surprised by that, but we're back up to 12 for now. And we have a handful of Wilderness Wrecks. So we're going to be able to play another one or 2 more. And we have the Nexus. And we have this Kanta, most importantly. So I think we should, now that we're up to 12, we should be able to survive this turn. We double Wilderness Wreck. Hopefully, is Kanta in Nexus? They probably just have to elk the Uro, right? Like, if we start taking turns with Uro, as Uro, it gets bad fast for our opponents. Like, the card draw, the life gain, it is over quick. Wow, opponent. Gonna go cruising. Draws 3. I mean, that increases their odds of drawing something. So they elk the Uro. Opponent swamp. Delighted Halfling. Delighted Halfling. All right, so we will play a Wilderness Wreck. Play a Wilderness Wreck. Haul the Storm Giants. So we will untap everything once. 1, 2, 3 is Kanta. All right, they run out of Bowmasters, sure. I think this means that our Nexus is gonna resolve though, right? So now we just gotta go infinite. Nexus. Oh, we should be good. We should be good. Put him on the bottom. Float all of our mana. Playing Nexus. And then is Kanta. We would also accept a Wrath. A Wrath wouldn't be bad. I think we might be good though. What does our opponent have? Why did they float a black mana? Well, we'll take a Nexus. It should be over now. Opponent passes. So we will, play Oko, step 1. Attack our opponent. Opponent takes the beats. Well, let's elk the Bowmasters. And opponent, they know what's happening. They know what's happening. Through the disruption. Wow, I thought we were gonna lose that one. I thought our deck might actually be defeatable, but it turns out taking all the turns is actually pretty strong. Our opponent, double demonic tutor draw, finding the best card in their deck. Not enough. This deck's so broken. I forgot how broken this deck was, but this deck is kid. Much Brew About Nothing time. We are trying to take all the turns. We were playing some dirty Nexus of Fate, also Field of the Dead. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Oh, Garuda. Oh, well, let's see how this goes. Haven't seen Garuda in a minute, but I am officially scared. Well, tap land go. Yeah, Garuda just wins if it resolves, right? I don't know if we have a way to stop that. Oh, are we going to get janked out? We're going for the 5-0 sweep here, but we might be getting janked out by Garuda. Once upon a time. Yeah, I mean, Garuda does one thing. It does that one thing pretty well, but it only really does one thing. Well, we will play a forest and grow Spiral. Put a... Ooh, that's actually big. Let's put the Field of the Dead into play. Okay, so there might be a world where our opponent Garudas and then we just Supreme Verdict. I mean, there is a fizzle rate, right, with Garuda. They're not going to get any help from our deck. Undercover Operative on the Paradise Druid. Uro. Trigger. Put a land into play. And a land into play. All right, well, this is it. Opponent's gonna slam Garuda. It all comes down to this. If they have a land, they slam Garuda. Oh, no. Yeah. That's right. Thankfully, no, it doesn't quite happen yet. Yes, of course. Companions have attacks. They did not undo the companion tax. Oh, do we Wrath? Maybe we Wrath. Yeah, let's just Wrath. This slows our opponent down by a couple turns at least. They're gonna Once Upon a Time. I mean, we get to start making Field of the Dead. Maybe I'm overly afraid of Garuda. So they need another land if they want to play the Garuda. All right, here it goes. Garuda. Hits a Spark Double. Okay. Hits a Whiff. So our opponent did their thing. But, thankfully, we have another Supreme Verdict. So we get to Wrath again. Windswept Heath, make a zombie. Pass the turn. Okay, we survived. We survived the first Garuda at least. They also milled another Garuda. Counters would be a good answer, but we don't really have a way to kill a cavern. Opponent's going to Besage the Field of the Dead. Well, okay, in response, we'll grab an irrigated farmland, make a zombie. You know what we would like to find? We would like to find a Nexus. We will just take a Hallowed Fountain. Tapped. And opponent plays Cold Steel Heart. Well, I mean, we can get down Uro. We can also get on a Wilderness Rack. Our opponent milling us isn't bad because that increases our... yeah, let's Uro. It increases the density of Nexuses. So it's actually kind of good for us. So exile some cards, get down Uro. Can we draw a Nexus? No, Growth Spiral. Well, we'll put a land into play, crack the land. We'll just take a island. How about that? We'll take an island. We'll play a Wilderness Reclamation. Hit ya. Untap our lands, pass the turn. So opponent needs another Garuda. We have a Swords, though, which might be able to fizzle it. Wow, opponent scoops it up. Maybe Garuda's not scary. How do we stop Garuda, though? So what is our plan for stopping Garuda? So Counterspell, yes, even though Cavern gets around it. And... maybe one more Wrath? Maybe we want all the Wraths and go down like one Wilderness Rack. Actually, you know what? I don't think Gogo's going to do much of this matchup. Let's run it like that. Yeah, we'll keep this. This hand would love to find a... this hand would love to find a Wilderness Rack, actually. Could ramp into the Wilderness Rack and then start Nexusing. Found it. Land. Cavern. Cold Steel Heart. Sure. Well, we're not going to be countering the Kraken. That much is clear. Let's Windswept Heath. Go. There is a chance that Swords could fizzle it. So here, like, grabbing the Garuda. Well, crack the Windswept Heath. Grab Temple Garden. Untapped. Growth Spiral. So many Nexuses. Put the Field of the Dead into play. Uro. Gain some life. Put Hall the Storm Giants into play. Flooded Strand into play. Pass the turn. Fetches with Uro are so good. This format's wild. This format's so fun. Immediately become my favorite arena format. And it's not even like especially close at the moment. Cavern on Shapeshifter. Well, we will crack the Flooded Strand. Grab the Triome. Green. Oh, we need one more card in the graveyard. Oh, we need two more? Oh, so we can't. Well, Windswept Heath go. So we're hoping they're on the clone plan. Opponent. Garuda. Actually, we should crack this fetch, right? Because they might mill our fetchable lands. Just grab a irrigated farmland. Should we be sniping this now? I think so. So now they have to hit literally Garuda, which they do not. Well, Garuda 1 fizzled. Opponent gets a Bowmaster. Sure. We draw a Castle Vantress. Well, we will play Castle Vantress. Nexus. Opponent takes it. Flooded Strand. Make a zombie. Crack Flooded Strand. Oh, do we have anything Mystic Sanctuary gets that's worthwhile? Swords? We'd rather just draw Nexus. All right, get a Scattered Grove. Make a zombie. Nexus. Found it. takes it. We probably get back Uro, right? I think we do. It triggers our opponent's... Bowmasters, but I think that's fine. Blue, blue, green, green. Uro. Exile some cards. Draw a card, gain some life. Oh, there's a wilderness wreck. I'll put the land into play, make a zombie. Sure. Wilderness wreck. And go. All right, opponent. Do your worst, Garuda. Do your worst. You got another one? Do you have another one, opponent? They do. All right. Well, let's see if we get milled out. Opponent, Garuda. Whiffs. All right, they get a Bowmaster, but they do not get to copy the Garuda. Yeah, maybe Garuda's not scary at all. Let's scry. See if we can find a next return spell. We do. I mean, I think we just go to combat, swing with everything. Oh my god, double Nexus. Oh, it's over. It is over. I mean, that should just do it, right? So opponent with 2 Nexuses. Opponent gonna ping. Sure. I mean, so what we do now is we just... Wow, this is gonna go way easier than I thought. So what we do now, opponent does whatever. We don't really care. We just Wrath and then get back Uro and then Nexus and you die. Yeah, this deck might actually just be busted. It might just be busted. Opponent gonna take 6. But we will, okay, put a stop. Supreme Verdict. We're at the board. Uro returns. Exile 5. Draw a card, gain some life. Hitting a land would be fine, because then we get more zombies. All right, Ottawa, that's fine. Make a zombie. But really, I'm not sure any of this matters. I think our opponent's literally dead, so tap all of our lands, untap, Nexus of Fate. Sorry, opponent, you don't get to play anymore, and opponent scoops it up, and I don't know. The rumors that Field of Dead is just too slow and fair for this format has not been my experience, because that is the 5-0 sweep. One thing I will say is Nexus is so miserable and so well known at this point, it has such a reputation that we haven't really had to play out too many games, which is actually a relief. Nexus, one of the annoying parts of playing Nexus is sometimes your opponent just like makes you loop it forever and it takes a really long time to win. That has not been the case in Timeless. I think people just hate Nexus so much that you cast like a Nexus and your opponent's just like, no, I'm done. I'm out of here. In this case, our opponent literally was dead. Like we attacked, I guess they didn't even know that they were literally dead. Technically we hit them for 8, and if we don't have an extra turn, they get to go again. But yes, they were dead because we have another Nexus. But turns out Uro, Oko, Wilderness Reclamation, Nexus of Fate, the mistakes of 2019 brought to life all together in one deck. Pretty strong in this new format. So yeah, I mean, if you want to take all the turns and make your opponent sad, I would definitely recommend this deck. I honestly don't know how much more to wrap it up than that. Like, we went 5-0. I think I can pull up my stats here to show you the 5-0. We went 5-0. Let me pull this up real quick. And the deck's sweet, and this format's also sweet. So technically, all right, if we go to my untap.gg, which definitely not sponsored by Untap.gg, but I use them to track my stuff. So if you're looking for a tracker, I would give it a shot. So technically, overall 7-1. Although there's 2 versions. The version that we just played, I made some changes. So I did a couple test games, and then I made some changes to the deck before recording. The newest updated version, which fixed some mana base a little. I was playing a bunch of Teferi's protections, which were just not worth it. So we're down to 1 of them. I was playing Rest in Peace, but that was wrecking our Uros, so it wasn't worth it. Added Mystic Sanctuary, 1 more Field of the Dead. But the version we just played, clean 5-0 sweep, just below Mythic on Magic Arena. So, all this to say, if you want to make your opponents very, very miserable, and you want to win a lot of games at Timeless, the deck actually seems pretty legit. Like, ramp, combo, Nexus of Fate, do its thing, take all the turns, get him with an Oko or an Uro. Plus, I mean, we can't resist the miserly one of Teferi's protection, just in case. But the deck's sweet. Very miserable, but very sweet and fun to play with. So, I don't know, if you want to take all the turns, it seems like a pretty legit option. But anyway, that's been our Much Abrew for this week, making our arena opponents very sad by taking all the turns. Thanks for watching, everyone. Happy holidays. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon.